Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today I'm gonna build an old classic, a Concorde from Revell on scale 144. So the kit comes with two liveries, basically both are from British Airways, the Orlando livery and the more recent one. So after that we're gonna review the kit, and of course I will add some more parts. I will have some my own decals that I purchased. And I will do the Pepsi livery, which was an aircraft belonging to Air France, and they were done for an advertisement campaign when they released the new logo of Pepsi Cola in the late 90s or early 2000. I will also use some more detailing parts, so I will add some resin engines and I will have some photo etch parts. So initially we're gonna open the kits, see what we have inside, and then we're gonna review all the rest. So the kit comes with basically the instruction sheet, and the instruction sheet, as you can see, seems to be quite easy to use. It's a black and white sheet, so I would imagine that's a later, an earlier version of that kit. So you have the kit description, all the parts and all the instructions, and toward the end you also have the different possible livery that you can have. So now let's have a look at the decal sheet. It's pretty nice, very easy to use, and you have all the options of making the British Airways Concorde through the age. So let's open the kit now and see how the kit is coming up. So let's start with the first sprue. The first sprue is having basically the engine itself, the nose, the engine intake, all the undercarriage part, of course, and the flaps fairing. Now the other sprue, the second sprue, is basically the wings. The wings are in three parts. You have the underbelly of the aircraft, and you have the wings themselves, and actually the plastics needs to have maybe a bit bended, so there might be some extra work over there. And the fuselage is in two halves, as you can see, and it's pretty straightforward. So the passenger doors and all the structure lines are pushed inside, which is nice, and I may have to do some extra work on the windows as well, as there is no holes at all. Now we have a last part. Our last part is the clear part for the cockpit. So you have the supersonic windscreen, and you have basically the cockpit and the side window. Now let's have a look on those other decals that I purchased. So, and honestly, I can't tell you who is the manufacturer of those decals, as I purchased them a really long time ago. So honestly, I have no idea. But the decals are basically, you have it's separated in two sheets basically, and you have the outside for the white, basically the white logo, and then you will be able to have a white decal on top of that, will give you the Pepsi logo. Then of course you have to paint the fuselage in blue, and then you'll have the Pepsi design on the white. So it seems to be pretty basic, but I think it's going to be a nice design and an interesting one. Now let's have another look on the photo etch part. This one is made by NH Details. So we have a very simple instruction sheet, as you can see, and basically those parts will help me to add more details on the gear bay, the gear doors for the main, Some more details, as you can see, on the front, on the nose door and the nose gear. And also you'll have some fan for the engines, and you have the options to put those engines with the thrust reversers, deploys, and a couple of antennas. You also have, as you can see, some details for the windscreen, the supersonic windscreen, and that will give a little bit a better taste on that model. So now let's have a look on those resin engines made by Braz Model. So I purchased all those from a long time ago from various websites. So you have basically the exhaust of those engines, and I think that might be pretty nice with the options of setting this with the thrust reversers deploy, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do next. And that's the entry fan, basically, as you can see. So it's very nicely detailed, and I will see how I will be able to work with those. So simple kit. Lots of things to do, and I hope a very nice result. So enough talking, and let's start building. So we're gonna initially start our kit by preparing the parts and assemble the fuselage all together. So for this, of course, you'll have to remove all the little parts, and of course I will put some modeling paste on the front part of the aircraft to have the aircraft sitting on the nose wheel. So after that, of course, I will glue the fuselage together and let it dry, and after that adding some putty, and of course having some sand down. We are now going to prepare the engines. So for this I'm going to use some parts that I bought from Braz Decal, and those parts will be the engine intake and the exhaust. So they were made in resin, and of course it will take a little bit of time to get them ready to be assembled to those engines. So of course once they've been removed from the sprues, I had to do some other work basically on the intake itself, remove some more parts, and to do a bit of fitting to be able to get a proper shape for those engines. So now we are going to work on the nose of the aircraft, and so we're going to first assemble the parts, of course, glue it, and do a little bit of a putty, filling all the gaps, of course, and after that, of course, there will be a little bit of a sanding part, but I'm going to use some photo etch part, basically, which is the sunscreen or the sun visor will go belong the nose and the windscreen. So I will also use to prepare the thrust reverser, and for that I'm going to use a paintbrush, and I will be able to curve basically the thrust reversers at the proper shape. So once again, once the putty has been dried out, it's time to sand it down to the correct shape and to make sure that all the gaps are filled. So after finishing the wheel well, it's time to put the flaps fairing on the aircraft. So for that I'll do a bit of fiddling, of course, and adjustments, and shortly after that, I mean, everything went quite easily. And it's now time to add the main wings on the main body of the aircraft, and so this will require a little bit of fiddling, as I did not respect basically the build notice, the instruction sheet, so I had to do a little bit of fiddling to be able to compensate for my former mistake. So once the glue has dried, it's time to fill up the gap with some Tamiya putty, and I'm using in this case a white Tamiya putty to fill all the gaps around the wings. So we're gonna now put the engine on under those wings. So first of all, there will be a little bit of fiddling, and of course I had some gaps, and as the glue was not taking well enough, I had to use some super glue basically to get my engines under the wings. So as you can see, the left engine, the underside, there was a pretty big gap, so I had to use a lot of putty and to fill up this gap, let it dry, and lots of sanding and re-puttying and re-sanding again. So I'm going to work now on the sun visor basically, or the supersonic windscreen. So I'll have to put some masking tape, of course, and I will be able to adjust it to the proper shape, as on the previous models I realized that they were not at the correct shape. So shortly after fiddling this, I will put the thrust reverser basically that I used on the photo H part, and I will glue them to the back of those engines. Time to enter the paint shop. So initially I'm gonna put some gunmetal or dark metallic paint for those engines, and after that, of course, I will continue. I will have to put some masking tapes
once the paint would have dried. And after that I will have to paint the wings, and for this I will use a white color, and later on I will continue with that blue color. It's a standard blue basically from Tamiya. The reference is the X4, and but that's the perfect color who will match the Pepsi Cola color. So now we are going to add some more detail to the undercarriage, and initially what I will do, I will start to work on the strut of the nose landing gear and its door. So they were too thick, so what I did, I used some plastic cards, as you can see, and I cut it at the correct shape, and I took some plastic wire were at a lower diameter, and then I was able to make the correct part. So after that, as you can see, I'm trying to bring all the structures, and I will put the correct shapes, and I took some other parts from the original kit. So shortly after that, I will continue on all the undercarriage, and I will add, of course, some more details to that. So on the main landing gear, I will initially remove the scissors, and I will re-put them. I will find some on the photo etch part, and of course I will glue them directly on the undercarriage. What I will add now is some other parts will be the protection. Basically there is a kind of metal bar in front of the tires, and there is a little mount, so I have to squeeze those parts with photo etch part as well, and I will put the bar later on, and of course I will add those to the undercarriage. After completing the paint of the undercarriage, what I did is I used some lead wire to replicate basically all the different parts, and basically this is all the hydraulic lines. I also had some other strut that I cut from a copper wire that I had to give some more detail to that undercarriage. Now that the gear has been glued on the airplane, it's time to put the strut basically on the main landing gear, and of course after that the gear door will be added. After being painted, I will add the gear doors, and I will put them on the main landing gear and of course on the nose landing gear. Once this operation is completed, we're going to start applying the decals. So I had a kind of a half circle of white color for that Pepsi shape, and I have to say that it required quite a lot of work later on, and you will see some parts I had to repaint and cut out the decals to be able to get the proper shape. So the rest went pretty easily, a little bit of fiddling, but the decals that I used were pretty strong, very good quality, except for the white parts that I had to use for the tail. As you can see after that, I mean, the Pepsi logo is very easily, it's thick enough not to be done. So as you can see, I had to repaint a little bit of white part on the tail before finally applying all the decals, and mainly the tail for that Concorde Pepsi. So here is the final result of that Concorde in the Pepsi livery. So that plane was operated by Air France, I hope you enjoyed that build with me, and if you did so, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon for another build video. Thank you for watching.